What's going on, y'all? Taylor here with y'all, 106.7. We are in the Red Wing Shoe studio, and today we're joined by country music singer-songwriter Mr. Eric Paslay. Welcome to y'all.
Good to be here.
How are we feeling?
I'm feeling good.
We're talking about football. You're from Texas. Are you a Cowboys fan?
You know what? That was the team on the TV. So yes,
Yeah.
You got to be the fan of the Cowboys. You know, when you're growing up in Central Texas. So
Sorry to say, I'm a Saints fan, and our last meetup, you know what happened.
They play football. It is fun. Yeah, no, growing up in Texas, it was fun. Definitely during the days that I was growing up, we were winning a lot of Super Bowls, so it's really easy to root for the team when they're doing good. You know.
All right, how about Titans? You like the Titans?
I like the Titans. I mean, they were the Oilers. Come on,
they need to step it up, though.
They'll figure it out.
No hate. But so when did you move to Nashville? Because you are an incredible songwriter. We'll get into your hits in just a minute. But at what point were you like, this is what I'm going to do?
I moved here 21 years ago. It's crazy. So I was 7 years old, and I had a buddy of mine named Brian Gowan. I'm actually going to have breakfast with him tomorrow morning down in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But he encouraged me to move to Nashville. It was kind of the move to Nashville, don't move to Nashville. Move to Nashville. You're really good. Move to Nashville. And I think he just saw a hint of you've got that weird thing to be able to write songs. And he was like, go get a degree, figure out how to stay in Nashville. So I went and studied at Middle Tennessee State University down in Murfreesboro, got a music business degree. So it gave me a reason to be here. Mm-hmm. And it gave me a little insight when I showed up at publishing companies. I'm like, do y'all sell songs? It's like, no, we license them. Just little things that help you have a little edge and get into the group, a little quicker in a 10-year town.
Did you learn anything valuable in the music business school that you feel like helped you as a songwriter, or like no?
It's absolutely yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think one of the most beneficial nights, or once a week, we would have a Nashville Songwriters International, Association International, NSAI. We had a chapter there. And Hal Newman, he's awesome, was a writer at Polygram, had some George Strait cuts and all kinds of cool things. But he would have a guest, so it'd either be a songwriter, a publisher, maybe someone from a label, a manager, and to, be 20 years old and listening to people who have gone through the music business, which there's always a different story. It's not the same story, but you could kind of pick up on similarities of stories and paths that worked and paths that might lead you to jadedness. It's like you could have people that show up and you go like, oh, they're really over this. I don't want to get there. How do I not get there? And so just, listening to everybody's songs and putting together an album and figure out how do you get to where you want to go. And but absolutely, I mean, just to have a little insight on how things should work. I feel like, it's always 2 years behind, just like the radio. It's like we wrote those songs 2 years ago. Don't write what's on the radio. We wrote those 2 years ago. Write what you think the next heartbeat will be.
That's so true. Stay in school, kids, because you learn a lot.
Or just do what you love and figure out how to make money from that.
There you go. Make it work from there.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're kind of passing along your knowledge at your new show at Chiefs on Broadway, Neon Steeple, Eric Church's Place, Song in a Hat.
Yeah.
Tell me about that show.
Everybody always asks, how do you write a song? Mm-hmm. So we're going to do it. We're going to literally write a song with someone from the audience. We're going to if you have a song title, we're going to have it put in a brown hat like the one I wear all the time, pass around the crowd. And we're going to randomly pull a name, a song title out of the hat, song out of a hat, and they're going to get to write it with me, Christian Bush from Sugarland, and Emily Landis. So we're going to, we're going to sit there for 2 hours, but we're going to try to give it a go, 15 or 20 minutes. And it'll be a songwriter show, so we're all going to play hits that we've written or sung and stories behind it. And I've got cool little props and interesting little segments, There's going to be a segment called the First Take Work Tapes. So we get to hear the first take of some of these hits before we play them, and cool stuff like that. But basically, if you show up to the show, you might actually get to write a song with us. And if it's good enough, we'll probably want to finish it with you, So
you might get a cut. You might get an Eric cut.
You never know.
Coming to the show.
Might get you a Sugarland cut. I know they're about to go on tour again. So.
Yeah, and that's October 9th. There is still time to get tickets at Chiefs on Broadway. But what a cool idea. Is this your brainchild? Where did this come from?
I just thought, as a dreamer kid, just going as a music fan, I was like, I always just thought when I went to shows, like, I wonder if they pulled me up on stage. How cool would that be? They would know I'm the chosen one. Not really. But when you're a music kid and just, we got big dreams going like, man, I wish I could get up on stage with them. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe we should do that. and how much crazier would it be to create a song with us on the spot?
Yeah.
So hopefully it won't be too silly. Hopefully people write down titles that can rhyme quickly.
Hopefully we got some really good songwriters in the crowd.
Honestly,
or they might be undiscovered.
no,
they
that's
might
my
not
hope.
even know.
This is the thing. In a 10-year town, I'd be great if we could speed it up to 1 year for you. It's like literally you get up on stage, I might be like, someone needs to sign this kid. Who is it? Who are you? And maybe you're 70 years old and you have these amazing titles and show up.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited for that because there's so many talented people in town, and it's, taste buds and eardrums. It's all an opinion. From music to wine to what do you like to eat? Well, my friend likes to eat it because they're an expert at it, so I like it too. Just being aware of that helps me as a creator go, hey, anything's possible always, and also anything that someone likes is awesome because they love it. It's a part of them, and freaking let them eat it up and enjoy life and hopefully do good with that. But here I go getting all songwriter.
No, I've never heard it put like that. I actually love that. Like the taste buds to the ear. Like that's so true because, you have people that go on to write #1 hits and they've been told by someone else that song is garbage. So it's like, it literally is a matter of preference.
Well, and usually if it doesn't sound like anything else, if you're only a suit and you're not a creative, you don't know what to do with it. It doesn't sound like a hit. Well, yeah, because it hasn't happened yet. Do you want the cookie cutter or do you want the doughboy? I'd rather be a cookie cutter.
You were dropping wisdom on us today. We love it.
And props to the doughboys. You can figure out how to copy somebody.
Yeah. So is this a show that you're going to do regularly at Chiefs? Or are you going to bring it around to other venues?
Yeah, that's my goal. We can do it right at Chiefs. John will have us back and we'll do it again. But 100%. I love that venue there. And Eric, I love that Eric's the co-owner of that. Props to him on actually investing in stuff and that he has original music played there a lot. So that's not a common thing on Broadway of actually letting people play original songs occasionally. Yeah. But it's just really cool. And I used to park cars down on Broadway. I can see where I park cars from down there. So it's just fun to see the journey and get to, look back and smile a little bit and go like, heck yeah, this worked out.
A little full circle moment there.
Yeah.
Speaking of original songs, let's talk about Friday Night, Song About a Girl, She Don't Love You. These are all hits that you've had as an artist. And then you also went on to write #1 songs for Jake Owen, Love and Theft, Eli Young Band. We've got Barefoot Blue Jean Night, Angel Eyes, Even If It Breaks Your Heart. Also Rascal Flatts, Keith Urban. I mean, we could sit here all day just naming your credentials. So what do you feel like when you hear all this stuff back about your success? Are you like, wow, I did that? Or did it fly by in the blink of an eye?
It's it is in 21 years of that. It's like, I'm really grateful that people have heard some of them, and grateful that the ones that they've heard have done well. Like Barefoot Blue Jean Night was like the most played song of the decade, thanks to country radio playing it nonstop. And then Eli Young Band, who got nominated for Grammys. I love what that song says, Even If It Breaks Your Heart. Downtown's where I used to wander, old enough to get there, but too young to get inside. That was me in Austin, Texas as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old. Like, you had to be 21 to get inside, man. So I moved to Nashville. All my Texas buddies are like, traitor, you moved to Nashville.
That's one of my favorite Eli Young Band
They're not like that
too.
anymore. But it is wild. I mean, the other wild thing is I've written probably almost 4,000 songs now. So it's like, I've had almost 6 #1s. We wrote Wild Hearts with Keith last year, and we were right there. Right, I should have brought y'all cookies. We were 26 spins away. Next time I'm bringing you cookies.
We don't need
get that extra spin. But it's every song that gets heard is a million miracles. It's like for all the taste buds, like we said, to line up, and the timing, and you to be the chosen one, and at time for you to have that hit, and your 2-minute and 48-second song fit perfectly at the end of every hour of every programmer that was programming that day, that year. But it's not lost on me how lucky I am to get to do this, even though I know I've worked my butt off and I have a God-given talent to do it. How do you say I love you and I miss you in a million different ways, as every song. But it's not lost on me. I love that I still get to write songs and show up in a room and see what falls out of the sky on us.
So what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing, the writer or the singer, or did it both happen at the same time?
Yeah, I always thought everybody on the radio wrote their own stuff. I didn't know George Strait didn't write. I think he wrote on one of his 60 #1s. Elvis Presley didn't write a song. The Beatles did. Tom Petty did. Willie Nelson. You know, it's and that being said, you don't need to be a writer to be a great singer. George Strait can pick a hit out of all of us way better than me, obviously. You know, he's just really good at knowing what song is at the right time. And I mean, it's George Strait. Listen to him sing, just his heart and everything's in it. But my story is I thought, well, I got to write songs. And I actually got signed at EMI Nashville Capitol before I ever had a song recorded. A lot of people, you know, a lot of interviews have been like, so you're a songwriter, why you want to be a singer? I'm like, well, I actually had a record deal first before any of my songs were recorded. I did have a publishing deal first because that was just kind of the blueprint of Nashville. If you want to be an artist, get a publishing deal so you can only make music and maybe get to go on the road full time and not have to park cars or work at Starbucks like I did for a while. But it's, but yeah, I'm both. I'm not one or the other. I know Nashville sometimes wants us to be one. It's like, are you a songwriter or are you a singer? We can't be both. Well, yeah, we are.
Creative.
Listen to it. You know, look at all the people showing up now. It's almost everybody writes their own stuff, which is really cool. And also, it's also really cool to get an outside cut for someone that doesn't write. You know.
Oh yeah, and especially someone you're a fan of too.
Yeah.
Like, wow. How do you decide which songs you want to record for you and which ones you want to pitch? Does it just feel right? Fate?
Just fate. Timing. People are always like, man, why are you giving your hits away? It's like, if only it worked that way. I would love to have 6 number ones, you know, as a singer. But it's Barefoot Blue Jean Night. I was, you know, talking to the guys I was working with. I was like, maybe I should record this Barefoot song. I just played at a writer's round, and the people really like the whoa-ohs, you know? And they're like, don't confuse the label. We had just recorded 30, or EMI had bought 30 masters from us, which means could be 3 albums worth of music. They're like, don't confuse them. I'm like, it's pretty good, though. Like, don't confuse them. And you know, honestly, if I would have put it out, this is what I'm, in theory, knowing how the taste buds and opinions work. Jake had already had like 2 or 3 number 2 songs. He had yet to have a number 1. I guess he was so due. Like radio knew. It's like Jake Owen deserves a number 1. I mean, a number 2 might as well be a number 1, but you don't get a plaque for it, and etc. But and it was just time for him. I'm convinced if I would have put out the same recording, literally, I sound just like Jake Owen, and the band played exactly the same thing. If that would have been my first single, I don't know if the world would have ever heard it. Because as the new artist back in that time, we always called it the sacrificial single. Your first single is not going to work because you're the new brand. What is this brand? Well, give us a flavor. Okay, maybe we like you. We'll see if you stick around enough and really want this, you know. And so that's my piece with going like, well, no, I didn't cut it. And even if it breaks your heart, I always just thought it was Will Hoag's song because it was the first song I ever heard on the radio. And it was actually on Lightning 100, like AAA rock, because Will's more of a rock guy. But just all kind of interesting stories. And Angel Eyes wrote with the guys on Love and Theft, and they were cutting, and it was time. Yeah. Actually, my number 1 Friday Night was recorded by Lady Antebellum before I ever recorded it.
Really?
Because I wrote it with Rob Crosby and Rose Falcon, so there was 2 guys singing on it and a girl. And we were like, man, this is perfect for Lady A. And Charles and Dave and Hillary cut it. And it was awesome. And they were going to single it, and they never singled it. And sure enough, it worked out. I singled it and went number 1. So, so that's a long way of saying, do you pick your songs? Not really. They pick themselves, you know.
And didn't you write She Don't Love You for George Strait or with George Strait in mind or something like that?
Yeah, I wrote it with Jennifer Wayne from Runaway June. She's awesome. And we were on Wild Hearts together with Keith and Brad Tersey from Old Dominion. How many artists does it take to write a hit? Apparently 4.
Yeah, and Brad's a great writer as well.
Brad's incredible. But She Don't Love You we wrote. And Jennifer went and played it for Tony Brown, who was producing George at the time. And she said that he was just like, man, is that Eric singing that? And she was like, yeah. And he was like, ain't he signed to EMI? Like, why doesn't he put it out? It's like, I think George would love this, but he should probably put it out. So thank you, Tony Brown.
Yeah, all right. Wow.
Got nominated for Song of the Year with that. And most people think that song went number 1. It didn't. You know, I think it stopped at 15. But it shows the power of a song. A song has forever to be heard. High Class, it stalled at 30, and I actually, I'm telling too many stories.
We love it. We love the storytelling.
The honest truth about that song, High Class, I've never told this story on the radio. I tried to hide it from Universal. I tried to hide it from my record label because I knew it was 5 years too soon. Like, I just had She Don't Love You. If we put out this song about me and me moonwalking, because I can go moonwalk I moonwalked across the Ryman stage at CRS with country radio Everybody lost their mind. They were like, this is it. Wow, Eric can dance. I thought he was like the shy little songwriter. I'm like, no, I'm an entertainer and I like having fun. I can get deep too if you want.
Moves.
If you want a Grammy song or a CMA song, I'll go for it. But I tried to. I asked the writers, like, don't play this for the label. They're gonna think it's a single, but if we put this out, everybody's gonna say I'm bro country and all this and that because we had cool beats and horns and having fun, you know. And sure enough, I got a call and it was like, and I love Mike and Cindy at the label and everybody, and everybody was on the phone calling. I was like, no, they found it. And they're like, Eric, this song, High Class, it's a hit. And I'm like, yeah, in 5 years it will be. But right now it's not going to work. And sure enough, it flew to 30 and stalled because testing was, they didn't like it because they didn't want me singing those songs. They wanted me sing She Don't Love You. And I was like, we got to warm up to it. And now everybody's line dancing. Every show I play, they line dance three times a night everywhere. So, 6 years later. So
I don't have that intuition, it sounds like. Where you just know, like, this is the time and this is not.
And it's, I could have been wrong, but it's timing's everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that being said, if it was supposed to be a hit, then it would have been. Mm-hmm. But a song has forever to be heard. It's a hit now. And it's cool to show up to shows. And I didn't even know it. I played a show in Colorado, and these guys, these big dudes, I'm 6'4", and these guys were giants. I thought I was going to get my kicked. And they were like, why didn't you play High Class, man? I'm like, dude, that song with the 30, you know that song? They're like, we only dance to it like 5 times a night here in Colorado. I'm like, what? I didn't even know that they were dancing to it. So it's funny going to California, Colorado, East Coast, anywhere they do line dancing, they're dancing to the song all the time. So
we were just talking about that with someone the other day about how sometimes like the album cuts are the ones that the fans love the most.
Yeah. Well, and it's a cool time where people can actually choose that, and you can actually see that they like it.
Yeah.
So there's something that I do love that about the social media side of everything. I'm not really sure about TikTok because it's fed to you to begin with, so that's a whole catch-22. But I do love that so many talented people are getting discovered through that, and that it's not just fed to you. I think that leaves the creative side of us more open to being heard. I have a buddy in Europe. I tour in Europe, and he always says I'm a European artist. Like, what do you mean I'm a European? I'm from Texas. I sing country. And he was like, no, you make a different album every time. European artists make a different album. In Europe, if you make the same record, you're a sellout. We already bought that record. In America, if you change your brand, if you make a different record, you're a sellout. What do you mean you're different? What? You're Eric. We want you as Eric. I was like, no, there's many sides of my soul. And I just, as a musician, I'm more entertained by giving you a little different sound every time I take you on a journey with me. So, and that's what my fans know. They know I'm always going to give them a little something different. It's from the same well of my heart and soul of making music, but I'm not going to give you the same song I always give you because I already gave that to you.
And you're growing. You're constantly evolving as an artist.
And hopefully as people, we do that too, even with what we put in our ears and our hearts, that, what you listen to goes a long way.
I feel like Keith Urban is a perfect example of that as well. He just, he's timeless, and he keeps continue to outdo what he did the last time and just stays true to him.
He's awesome. If no one has, I don't care what brand you think you are, what street zip code you grew up on, if you think you're urban, or I see what I did there, if you're, country, urban, city, this or that, like whatever football team your parents voted for, I don't care who you are. If you have not seen Keith Urban, you got to go see him because he is awesome. He will just melt your face off with the guitar, love. It's amazing.
He's incredible. Who did you grow up listening to?
Everybody. I just listened to everything. My dad's 1968 Mustang had oldies playing. I just thought old cars played oldies. So kind of the doo-wops and the whoa-wows. That's probably where a lot of my whoa-wows come from, and songs and just the ear candy. I always say drunk people and kids can sing along, you know. But listen to that. I mean, growing up, from Texas, you listen to Willie and George Strait on that countryside, Pat Green and the Flatlanders, and Rich Mullins was this Christian artist I love that played a hammered dulcimer that just sounded like the Irish hills of heaven, Like, what is this thing? And Tom Petty and Bruce Springsteen and U2 and Coldplay, and I just listen to everything. And typically my well is people who write their own stuff because it's a consistent heartbeat from what they're writing from. And but yeah, I listen to everything. I mean, Johnny Cash, my favorite records were his American records, because you had this guy that should have died from pills way back. He somehow lived through it. God somehow let him live. And then you get one of the coolest outlaw dudes ever been like, yo, I've been there, done that. How about you look up to heaven at the end of your life? Or maybe you start at the beginning so you can, touch more people with it. But it's I love those records too, and what Rick Rubin did with Johnny.
Spoken like a true songwriter.
There you go.
So what's next for you? We got a baby girl on the way.
Yeah, what the heck? We haven't even posted online. We were just gonna pull like a,
Oops, did I
no, you can totally
that?
say that. No, I'm just bad at posting pictures.
Yeah.
But we're pretty excited. I mean, really excited. Yeah. We'll have 2 little girls, and it's coming up quick. Yeah. And so gonna have another little girl. We just always at the farm working on it. We just got a few horses, and I'm always growing fruit trees and grapes and making fun stuff out of it. And just got through hunting all the pawpaw fruit. People are like, "What is that?" We'll go look it up. It's native to where we're at, and all kinds of fun stuff. I can't sit still. It's
you got
like
a homestead. It sounds like you bake your own bread.
Actually, I do. I got a starter from a fan of ours in actually play her vineyard. I just saw her. Her name's Randy. And she was like, "You got your starter?" I'm like, "Yep." I just had it labeled California because she sent it from me from California. So yeah, we got bread and all that stuff.
I love that. I'm coming to your house for Thanksgiving.
Got some chickens and guinea fowl to, eat all the ticks.
And you also were saying that you renovate houses with your wife?
Yeah, we're renovating a house in Goodlettsville. I was just in there with the bobcat digging out a crawl space. So, just holding my tongue just right, making sure it didn't come down on me. But I don't know. People always ask, like, "Man, why are you doing that? Why don't you just sit still?" I'm like, "Man, I move air for a living. My job is opinions, which I love. But it's also unpredictable completely. Like, I could hit 1,000-foot home run and no one's in the stands. You could ride a hit and a half that day and no one's there. And that can drive you nuts after a while because everyone's like, this is the biggest hit of the forever, and then crickets. But when you rewire a house, it's rewired. When you flip it on, the light switch comes on. When you replumb it with PEX and there are no leaks, you plumbed it right, And when it's true and, when it's a 90-degree angle, it's not an opinion. The marbles will not roll if you stick them on the floor, So it's, I think that just kind of part of my sanity of getting to actually move wood and dirt and wiring and all that. And it's creative to me in a way. And also it's lasting. It's like, do good with the time God gives you. Try to build stuff and build it right. And we always renovate old places. So kind of tip your hat to the past. And I always say I try to put the good ghosts back in it,
And it's something you can do together. So I'm sure that's
special. Yeah. My wife's an incredible designer, dear God. And it's when we typically are just kind of that timeless look of, well, this keeps coming back, so it's timeless, And whatever flavor you like, it's cool.
Well, you're a man of many talents.
Well, thank you.
A question I always like to end on is if you could give your advice to your younger self or advice to someone that wants to be a songwriter or an artist, what would you say? I'm sure you get asked that all the time, but really dig deep in your soul.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of what people think. You know what you are. And if you haven't figured it out yet, don't go chasing the wind of emptiness. There's a lot of people chasing the wind in the world. A lot of people want to be famous because they think maybe money will make them really happy. And money will, there's a certain point, we know that, of being content and comfortable. But I'll say if you love making music, make it because you love making music, not because you want to be famous, because famous is just going to leave you empty. You'll never have enough of it. Once you play all the stadiums, you'll be afraid that you won't get to play a stadium again. And then where are you at? So I think as long as you're chasing after what you really know is in your heart, and it doesn't, then you're going to be happy. And I'll just say, chase what you love chasing. Don't do it for money. I always want to ask parents, at shows and backstage, they'll be like, well, how much money do you make? I'm like, that's an interesting question. It's less than you think, probably. But I always want to ask them, well, how happy do you want to be? It's like if you're doing what you love, the money is a side effect, and God will take care of you.
Yeah, I love that. And who would ask you how much money you make, first of all?
I don't know. People are fun. I don't know. Sometimes I tell them, I'll be like, well, what do you think a number one song's worth?
Yeah.
And most people don't. Typically these days it's worth $1 million. So if you, me, and Keith Urban wrote it together, You split it. Let's just say it was 900. Help my math here. Say it's 900. So we all made 300,000. But then we have our first publishing deal, which our publisher gets half that. So we all made 150, and now we pay 25% tax. So that's what your number one song's worth.
Third of a third.
That being said, that's why I'm glad I'm a singer. I can go play shows for people and do all that. But it is, there you go.
Yeah.
I can answer it because it's, it's kind of what it is.
I think that's great. Like when it's very key when you said if you don't know who you are, don't just go like throwing stuff at the wind.
Yeah.
Like wait until you figure that out.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it is funny. It's like, all right, you're 18. What do you want to go to college for? Figure it out now.
Mm-hmm.
How much money you want to make? You want to make money like me, right? Real successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, man, that's so not wisdom, dude. To be so old, so many people have lack of wisdom on that. But also in a we're in a society where it's like the more money you make, the smarter you are or something. It's like that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of really rich, unhappy people. I wish that they could figure out how to be happy with that, and it's and you kind of corner yourself into a weird situation where it's like, God, I hate what I do, but I have to keep doing it to make all this money to pay for my stuff. And yeah, I don't know the answer to all that other than when you're young, take a minute and figure out what that is. And guess what? If you're old, you can change your mind right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe you got too much stuff and that stuff doesn't make you happy,
I love that. And if you don't know how to write a song, they can learn from you at Chiefs on Broadway.
Come on.
We're going to
also,
get you number one cut.
I've learned any wisdom that someone gives you, they're telling themselves. I'm just reminding me all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We love to hear that. And it reminded me of something that Tom Douglas, he's a songwriter. He also played at Chiefs on Broadway recently. He was saying how he got his first cut when he was 40. He was living in Texas. He connected with someone at NSAI, and it was a Colin Ray hit. So I think that just goes back to the timing and staying true to what you know you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Really good.
It is true.
Yeah.
Song has forever to be heard, and dreams are fun to chase. Yeah. Sometimes you get to catch them.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want our listeners to know? Follow you on Instagram at Eric Paslay.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, all that. Go play Perfect Stranger a whole lot because I own it, along with Live in Glasgow over there, Scotland. And come see a show. I'm always playing on the road somewhere.
Yeah.
And either with the band or just me and a guitar doing storytelling. But I'm really excited for this show, Song in a Hat, and see where it goes. Yep.
We'll see y'all at Chiefs on Broadway on October 9th. Still time to get tickets. Still time to get tickets at chiefsonbroadway.com.